Hey guys, welcome to the video lecture for Chapter 7. Just a reminder, this chapter is optional. It won't be on the final exam, but it's optional in the sense that if you do the assignments, then each of those assignment categories, you will have your lowest grade dropped if you complete these assignments for Chapter 7. So, for example, if you did the pre-lecture homework for Chapter 7, then your lowest pre-lecture homework grade will be dropped. Okay, so I'm doing this instead of doing the in-class bonus that I promised you guys. So this is kind of a replacement for that, is this opportunity to drop your lowest assignment grades. Okay, so all right, so this chapter is really cool, actually. So I hope you watch this this optional video. But it's about market inefficiencies. So we've been learning about how competitive markets produce efficient outcomes and are really good for society. And usually that's that's the main argument for free market capitalism, is that when it works really well, and it distributes and allocates resources efficiently to the highest values. To where the highest need is. Okay, but of course that doesn't always happen. In fact, we've seen when markets aren't perfectly competitive, there are efficiency losses, like with monopoly and oligopoly and monopolistic competition. Right, there's some deadweight loss. So this is kind of this chapter is kind of in the same vein as those chapters, because there are some other instances where free market capitalism doesn't always work. The market breaks down. There's some externalities, as they're called. And so what we're going to be seeing here are some other cases where we have inefficiencies in market allocation. All right, so previously we've seen that the concepts of consumer surplus and producer surplus and what they mean. And we also looked at excise taxes and the effect that those have on the market and how they create deadweight loss. There's a trade-off between deadweight loss and tax revenue for the government. So we've seen that already. But basically, this chapter is going to touch on some of the same issues. So what are our big questions for this chapter? Number one, what are externalities, and how do they affect markets? And what are private goods and what are public goods? So that's really at the heart of what we're going to be touching on in this chapter. And then also, what are some of the challenges in providing non-excludable goods? And we'll learn what non-excludable means. So here's an interesting question for you. What is the optimal level of pollution? Okay, you see this smokestack or whatever this is, oil burner. I'm not sure what it is, but think about that for a second. What do you think is the optimal level of pollution? Now, you might have had an inclination to say, well, no pollution, which is fine. Very idealistic of you, and I commend you for your idealism. But think about what that would mean if we didn't create any pollution. Couldn't drive anywhere. We wouldn't have electricity in most cases. Right? Do you want to drive your car? Do you want to be able to travel? You wouldn't be able to fly anywhere, right? On a plane. Okay, see what I'm getting at? So it turns out that the optimal level of pollution is not zero, because we wouldn't have any of the things in our economy, basically, until we get to a point where we can have 100% renewable energy. And I don't even know what that would look like for air travel. But until we get to a point where literally everything on the planet is 100% renewable, non-carbon emitted energy, we have to produce pollution in order to produce pretty much anything. So zero pollution would mean zero production for the most part. Although we are getting closer to having renewable energy every day, right? More solar, more wind, these types of things. And then, of course, there's waste from packaging and things like that. So somehow we'd have to eliminate that too to get to zero pollution. But in any case, zero pollution is not optimal at this point in time. I think maybe in the long run it would be, but in the short run, it's definitely not. So, yeah, zero, no. Right. So that's why we can't have zero pollution.